So today is Monday, April 15th. This is a regular meeting of the Select Board and Water Commission. It is 6:34 and we'll call the meeting to order. First order of business, as always, is to review and make any additions or deletions to the agenda. I have two additions. One is under Public Works. We're going to add grants and aid program application. We have a copy of that here.
It's just a letter of intent, yeah.
Grants in aid, letter of intent, yes, sorry. Yep.
And then the financial plan,
Yep, and that's, oh wait,
You had that already.
the TA,
I thought
TA 60. You had it on last time.
yeah, I thought it was on here, but for some reason.
It's definitely on there.
You had it on the time.
Is it not on today's agenda?
Are you looking at
Not
it
on today.
That's weird, I must have accidentally replaced it with something. All right, and we're also gonna add the annual financial plan, which we talked about at the past couple meetings, but haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah.
And then just under new business, I just want to add a quick note about a meeting taking place in Enosburg on the 18th, which I think folks got an email about. So
Yeah.
doesn't take too much conversation, but just wanted to get people's feelings on attending that or not. Any other changes to be made to the agenda?
I have nothing
Okay,
else.
great. Then we will move right into approving the minutes of the April 1st meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of April 1st as written?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from Mark. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Suzanne. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes of April 1st as written, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? We have one abstention from Emily, so the motion carries 3-0 with one abstaining. Next up, we're going to go to Public Works. Mark, floor is open for updates. Anything you want to talk about?
The plan is to get out in the grader and start hitting all the roads. I mean, it's been raining every day, so it's been hard to get out and get things graded. The plan is for probably Dave to run it most of the day, and then Scott's gonna get on it at 3:30, so he might be putting some overtime in, but since we have the sunshine, we just wanna try to get over everything, within the next, week or so. But we just wanna try to get everything graded in, start pulling in the sides so that things will dry out, and then we gotta remove some of that material, because some of it isn't any good. So
Yep.
we're gonna start that process, and Matt's been working out pretty well.
Great.
So far, so.
Good.
He seems to be happy to be here, and yeah, he's working good.
Can we make a community pile of the material that's no good for our various driveways and things like that?
I don't know if we even want some of it for that, but, yeah.
Okay.
Interrupt, but something's happened with the audio. I didn't understand anything that Mark contributed.
Okay, can you hear?
Can you hear it okay, Will?
I can hear you, Carly. I
I
didn't hear.
can't-
Mark
I
was
can't
kind of jumbled.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me better now?
Better.
Okay,
We'll have to just use our outside voices.
okay. So my updates are, we're planning on getting out with the grader, tomorrow. The sun is shining and it's supposed to be good the rest of the week. So Dave's probably gonna run it most of the day, and then we'll have Scott get on it later in the day, so we can we'll put some overtime in, but just keep the grader rolling for the next few days while the sun is shining, and try to get the roads, back into shape, get the potholes fixed up. I think they're planning on going up on Black Falls and North Hills tomorrow, and then working on the village, and then we'll head to the center. The village seems to be dried out a little bit better than the center right now. And then our new employee, Matt, has been working out. He's working out well, so that's the other update.
Great. And the trucks are all doing okay?
Well, they're moving.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, they're all back from the shop, though.
Yeah, the CB, the 550 is still at the shop.
Oh, it is, okay.
There was a bunch of warranty work needed to be done on it, so they're fixing a bunch of stuff on it.
Okay.
It's all, most of it's under warranty, so,
Okay, great.
while they have it down there, we'll get it fixed
Might as well get
up.
it done.
Get it done, yeah.
Okay, great. Anybody have any questions for Mark regarding his updates? All right, if not, we're gonna move to the impacts of sugaring activities on town roads. So this was an item that a couple people have asked to be discussed, and then I think the board got an email this afternoon from another property owner in town regarding this. And so I don't have a plan for this discussion, and there's no like takeaway and action that I'm hoping to get us to tonight. But we're coming out of the winter, we're in mud season. Some years, this is an issue that comes up during mud season, end of winter. We get really frustrated about it, but then kind of like May and June hits, and then we kind of forget about it a little bit, and then we're back into it next year. And so I think the hope was to set the stage for a broader conversation around the impacts of it and what do we want to do? How do we want to talk about this? Are there other folks we want to bring into the discussion, whether it's locally or the state? Yeah, and then kind of like what's the next step on this? I will note that the email we did get today did have a request for a public meeting regarding it. You know, it was on today's agenda, but you know, a lot of folks don't look at the select board agendas. So if we did want to have a public meeting about it, we could certainly schedule a hearing that would be more, you know, publicly warned. I don't think we would have a formal town meeting about it, just because that involves much more legal process.
Yeah.
As far as a formal, by definition, town meeting, but we could certainly have a warned meeting. The one other thing I guess I wanted to ask you, Mark, was one of the questions in the email that we received was around whether it's possible to kind of put a dollar figure on the repairs that we do that are resulting from that sort of activity. And I had a hard time wrapping my head around that, so I'm curious what your thoughts are.
No, we have been keeping track of what it's cost us for the stone. You know, I know just the stone is like $9,000 that we've had to bring in, plus we had a stockpile. So we are keeping track of what it's costing us for each road, for materials
each
and time.
road?
Yeah, yeah. And then my feeling is like on Nutting Road, you know, Bates have the sugaring operation way at the top. I mean, that road would be perfectly fine without that sap truck going up and down that road. I think we need to bring Bates in and say, you need to figure out something like Jordan Kane did and Jesse Soul did and pump it down to the bottom. You know, talk to some landowners and pump it down to the main road. Because it's not fair to the homeowners on that road. I mean, it just tears it all up. And we spent quite a bit of money on that road, which we really shouldn't have to. I mean, there's only 4-5 residents on that road. And, you know, they have trouble getting out. And the discouraging part about all this is, like we go on Amadon Road, there's sugar makers up in there, and we'll go fix a spot, and then 2 minutes later they come through with their trucks, and then they ruin what we just fixed. I feel like these sugar makers need to come to the towns and say, you know, offer to give us some money or help us, you know, to repair these roads, because I know in other towns, like in Fairfield, the Brandons, they go to the town and give them like $10,000 a year, and even offer to haul material with their trucks to help the town repair the roads, because they know they're doing damage to them. And it's not just the sugar makers, these oil companies need to start looking at, you know, coming early in the morning or working around it too, because sometimes you'll meet 3 or 4 oil trucks or fuel trucks on the
Because they're
same
going
road.
to the sugar houses?
No, because they're just delivering to houses.
To houses.
When they need to either put bigger tanks at these houses or, you know, do something different instead of having to haul, or bring $50 worth of fuel up instead of just filling their tanks.
Yeah.
You know, that's, I mean, it's not just a sugar maker.
Can't hear Mark.
Can't hear him at all. Maybe, Charlie, you could just recap what Mark's saying, because we can hear you, but Mark, your every third word's coming through, and I've got it on closed caption, and It sounds like you're saying thank you, sir, a lot, and I doubt that that's the content of your comments.
Is the mic not working? Like, can you,
I don't know.
if you
I don't
tap
know.
on the mic, will it, you hear that?
Yeah, I tried it.
It's just Mark.
Oh. Well, so what Mark was saying was, a few things here. One is that the road crew is tracking how much money is put into each road through mud season as far as time and materials. I don't know whether we can attribute that directly to the activity of individual sugar makers. I think there's like correlation versus causation there that might be difficult, because as you pointed out too, and Mark also pointed out, that there's other things that are problematic, such as fuel trucks. If there's 6 deliveries on one road and they're all coming between the hours of 11 and 4, when the sun's shining and the roads are soft rather than early in the morning, there's issues there. So we do have the ability to kind of show monetarily how much money we're putting into roads. From that, we can draw some inferences about where we know there's sugaring traffic. What Mark was suggesting is that we get all the sugar makers essentially in town together at a meeting and have a discussion around the activities, how we're operating, what the town's trying to do, what they might be able to do. As Mark pointed out, there's certain sugar makers elsewhere. The Brannons and Fairfield's a good example that will go to the town every year and cut them a sizable check for road maintenance, and they will also help contribute to the activities by trucking material. So there's examples of how this can be done. There's another example would be sugar makers who have put in main lines to get their sap from the sugar bush down to a paved road, such as what Jordan Kane did up on Reagan Road. So that's the synopsis of what Mark was discussing. It sounds like one of the things that's bubbling up here is that we do need to kind of look at scheduling a meeting with the sugar makers in town.
Yeah, and then, discuss this with them and see if we can come up with a compromise or come up with something.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to be, most of the places the bad spots are where they're doing the traffic of the sugaring.
Yeah.
I mean, are the worst situations,
Okay.
worst spots.
It also seems to me like I'm hearing more and more that some of our operations in town are getting larger, and that's great for them individually, but what I'm hearing is that people are also hauling in sap on those roads, so it's not like, that's a huge burden
Yeah,
on our roads as well, and I understand that like helps them meet their bottom line, but that is just causing like much more undue stress on our roads.
Yeah.
That sap is getting hauled like either from place to place, or more sap is getting hauled in. And I think that every year we see the technology in the sugaring industry change. Every year it gets better and better, it's more efficient, which for us means that they're just gonna be getting more sap out of every single tree and increasing their yields. Great for them, great for their bottom line, but essentially that means more impact on our roads. And I think that if we don't come to a place that we can curtail some of the damage, that our taxpayers should be infuriated by this.
Yep.
Because
It's not fair to-
like living on a dirt road myself, like I know the effort that our road crew is putting in on other roads so that people can get home, and I appreciate that fully. But every time I leave my house and I am thrashing my vehicle, I'm wondering how much that's costing me out of my own pocket, because somebody else has damaged the roads so greatly that that's where all of the effort is
resources going,
all of the resources are going to maintain the same few roads in town, which then other people are left just dealing with what they've got because it is passable. Well, passable is one thing, but I'm leaving my house 15 minutes earlier than I typically do if the road's in decent shape. So not only is it time, but it's wear and tear and maintenance. And I'm not the only one. Like, I'm not speaking just for myself here. That's like everybody that lives on a road that has,
Yeah, no.
damage that hasn't been dealt with because they're focusing all their attention in one place so that it remains passable.
Yep. And I will just say for broader context here, and also just for the record, I think most everybody here and on Zoom knows this, but because sugaring is an agricultural activity, that their trucks, they are exempt from overweight permits that other vehicles such as construction trucks, cement trucks, all the ones we talk about every week. So they are exempt from posting. I just wanted to put that out there on the record for anybody who sees this that doesn't know that yet. And then the other thing too, just from a broader statewide context, because in the past 10 years, I have reached out to various legislators, representatives from VTrans, the chair of the House and Senate Transportation Committees. We are in a bit of a unique spot up here. Franklin County produces, I think, 3 times the amount of maple syrup than any other county in Vermont. So from a broader statewide conversation, I don't think other counties and places in the state see this quite as bad as we do. And in Franklin County alone, the amount of land in production has, I think, quintupled in the last 10 years. So this is becoming a bigger issue more and more. So I say that for context in terms of, I think one of the times that I've been most pissed off in this job was when Phil Scott said during a press conference that his road wasn't too bad, so it couldn't be that bad of an issue. So other folks in the state don't quite see this the way we do, so there's some state education here that has to happen. And also that, this is something that might have traditionally been, well, we put up with it for a little bit, but it is what it is. It's gotten to a scale of an issue where it is not the same as it has been in the past. And so I just wanted to kind of broader context as far as the state goes with this conversation, because I am also wondering if we have a meeting like this and we invite the sugaring community in to talk with us, if we also want to try to invite anybody from VTrans or the Department of Ag to that meeting to have a conversation. Because some of this will get into neighborly intertown workings, but I imagine the conversation also can get into legally what is the community's options as far as guiding, curtailing this.
Well, I have talked to some other towns, and over 60,000 pounds, we can get a hold of, DMV can find them. If the town supports, if the board stands behind it. And other towns are doing that.
Okay.
Oh, they're finding the sugar maker.
Over 60,000.
Yeah, which is most of these big trucks are over that.
Okay.
So that's a route, but I don't know if you want to go that way.
Is that putting the impetus on the sugar maker to
Make more trips.
report that they're taking a $60,000 or a 60,000 gallon truck up and down the road, or?
Yeah, then the only issue I see with that is actually those bigger trucks are making less trips, and they aren't making quite as much damage as the smaller trucks. So that if we
Making a
start
million
going that
trips.
route, then we're gonna make, it's a hard place to be,
Okay.
yeah.
So how do folks feel about trying to organize maybe a public meeting for early May to address this? We can warn it for a regular select board meeting evening, but I would want to publicize it a little more and extend invitations to the sugar makers that are operating in the community.
Yeah.
Do you feel like would we want to talk to the sugar makers first and open the conversation up, in consideration of them not coming to a room with a bunch of angry community members?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, we can certainly reach out and talk to them about why we want to talk to them and have a conversation. The only challenge is that we as a body, if we talk to the sugar makers, that has to be in a warned public meeting
Yes,
that
of
anybody
course.
can come to. But I get your broader point, which is we don't want to invite them into a shit show where they're just going to get screamed at.
Right, exactly.
And I would hope
especially if they are amenable to coming up
Exactly,
with a solution.
Yeah.
It
Which
would
I
be
imagine-
nice to have it be solutions focused.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I would also extend
Like
that.
a problem solving,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
maybe that's sort of how it needs to be billed.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what it.
Exactly, yeah, and
Yeah.
we would expect that anybody from the community who came would comport themselves in a manner that is civil and,
Okay.
you know.
All right.
But I think you raise a good point, that like, this is not gonna be a bitch fest, it's gonna be a let's find a solution together
Yeah.
Yeah.
workshop.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, we can certainly look to schedule that for sometime in early or mid-May. I know a lot of sugar makers right now are still pretty busy pulling taps, getting sugar houses in order, cleaning. So my expectation would be that by middle or late May, most of them would have a lot of that kind of wrapping up.
Yeah.
And the other thing I can do is I think we can generate a list pretty easily, but I can also reach out to the state and get a full list of all those folks that are operating in the community.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, all right,
And
well,
it might be nice to bring
Right,
to
the sound is gone.
the table people like Jordan Kane who have.
Oh, yeah.
And because like obviously they sought solutions, and so they might have some insight for other people that, you know, that may be one avenue to pursue as a solution.
yeah, no, I would expect everybody, you know, Jordan
Yeah.
included, you know?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, well, I'll work on getting that organized. Are you playing with the sound, Will?
Trying to figure out something, because if I can hear the mics clearly, then in theory it should be a Zoom thing. That's what I'm being told by by the people in charge. Sorry about that, people in the room. Might have messed with you a little bit here.
Okay, I don't know if folks heard that. Will is trying to fix the sound quality so it is better.
Okay, I don't know if it's a Zoom problem because closed captioning isn't working either. It sounds like you're having a conversation at nursery school.
Okay, I mean, it's, all the audio feeds into, okay,
And now I can't hear you at all.
I can hear Charlie fine.
okay, well, we are working on it. It all feeds into a camera, which feeds into the Zoom, so for some reason, the camera can hear it fine, but it's not translating back into Zoom, so it might be a problem with the connection, but we'll try to fix it.
It could be the microphone placement.
Nope, we've monkeyed with that 10 ways to Tuesday, so we'll keep working on it though. Okay, so I think we've got good next steps around this topic. I will work on scheduling something and reaching out to folks for something in May.
And getting a list from the state I think would be important, just so we
Yep.
don't miss anyone.
Yeah, and I can certainly get that through both the Department of Ag and through Department of Forest Parks.
Is there any sort of advantage you think to inviting like Penny and DeMar as a representative, as like a liaison to the state?
Yeah, certainly. Penny, I can also reach out to the different committees in the legislature that deal with this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay,
7 days in here.
so let's keep going with the agenda. So item C here, again, this is something that we have on the agenda as a placeholder for the broader conversation around strategic planning pertaining to Black Falls Road as principally discussed, but also to the broader plan for all roads in the community. As we've discussed, what we're trying to do right now is just get through mud season, get all the final rounds of grading and everything else done, and then after that, sit down and have a more kind of in-depth conversation around, you know, priority areas, action plans, budgeting to develop a more holistic strategic plan for these roads. So for now, this strategic planning thing on the agenda is a placeholder for that, again, so that we don't let it drop. But there's no specific conversation around that tonight that was intended. Again, it was more just a placeholder to carry forward so that when the capacity of the crew allows, we can have the more in-depth conversation to then bring back a plan to the community for review, comment, discussion, and finalization. The two added items here this evening, one was the letter of intent to participate in the SFY 25 Municipal Roads Grant and Aid Program. Mark, do you want to just give a quick synopsis of what this is?
What this is, we've already done our roads grants for FY '24 on the upper part of Black Falls Road on the hill. So now we've got to look at the hydraulically connected areas and look for another place to do for FY '25. So this is just saying that we're letter of intent to participate. And then we'll meet with Bethany and try to find another spot to do the FY '25 grants and aid program.
Great. So is there a motion to submit the letter of intent to participate in the SFY '25 Municipal Roads Grants and Aid Program?
I'll make that motion.
We have a
I'll
motion
second
from Mark, and we have a second from Suzanne. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 4-0. So we'll get that into the state. Next up was the annual financial plan for town highways. Any comment on this, Mark, or anything you wanted to point out specifically?
So what this is every year the state sends us an amount that they pay us for the amount of miles we have class 2 per mile, and the amount of mileage we have for class 3. So this year, we're gonna be getting $32,000 for class 2 roads and $63,653 for class 3 roads from the state to help maintain the roads. So compared to 2024, that's $3,500 more on class 2 and $6,800 more for class 3,
Okay,
which is not that much, but
every penny counts.
yeah, so that's what this is. And then you have to break out your winter maintenance and non-winter maintenance. And then I put the Fuller Bridge paving grant on here as a major construction project if we get approved.
Yep,
That has been sent in, the grant, for the paving grant, so we'll see if we hear back.
okay,
If we get approved for that.
great.
So
Anybody
that's what this is.
have any questions for Mark?
It's amazing that those grant amounts aren't higher, given like,
Yeah.
when you compare them.
Is there a way to,
Like they're, you know,
I'm sure
take what
it's
you
just
can
a
get,
formula.
but.
It's a formula.
There's no way to appeal it and like based on the amount of, like say the amount of traffic on 58, like,
I mean, there should be a lot more money than that. I mean,
Right.
we probably spent that much already.
right,
Just
and yeah.
trying to keep it
Yeah.
going in the spring. but-
Yeah, and I have,
Especially being a state class 2 highway, that's actually for my road too, so we have almost 7 miles,
Yeah.
to maintain those class 2 highways, which are a lot more travel and everything.
Right.
My feeling is, we did say that to Stephen when he was here, that we could use a lot more money,
yeah,
and then the class 3s too.
Yep.
63,000, I mean, that
Do they,
doesn't go very far,
No.
because it's a class 2 highway and it's a dirt road, which is, I imagine, 58?
paved.
Well, no, the bottom part is, but my road's all paved.
Right, but I'm talking about 58 because it's a class 2 state highway, but we maintain it.
Yeah,
So do they ever bring like truck in material from the state or bring state vehicles to do any road work to that?
no.
Is there any
No.
way to?
We should,
Is there any way to give it back?
Yeah.
I'm not joking.
No, I know.
oh, I know, it's just been a burden.
Yeah, well,
I need no one to say anything important for like 2 seconds. Just.
Are there other towns that have so much problem with their
Most,
audio?
most other towns don't.
Can the people on Zoom hear anything?
can,
I can hear now. I can hear Suzanne clearly.
okay,
Can you hear me?
I can hear Mark now, yes.
okay.
Okay.
I think Will might have figured out the settings that we needed to have figured out, so hopefully it'll work better now for everybody.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Will.
Okay, you can start talking about important things again.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
Okay, so, yeah, longer term, there's discussions to be had around,
I mean, we do get, like the paving grant, 175,000.
Yeah.
Then we have grants for class 2 highways, for changing culverts and.
Yeah, but I
and
mean,
all that stuff too, but another 175,000.
right,
But my
Okay.
thoughts would be if they could have more money to pave, you know, like some of 58 and, you know, stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah,
considering the amount of money. I mean, I think we need to do, we are doing a better job of keeping track of what it's costing us to maintain that road, these roads. So I think we need to just show that to the state and say, this is what it's costing us to maintain this road.
yeah. How long have we had it? Like how,
I don't know, as far as I can remember.
okay.
Yeah.
it is an interesting
Yeah.
question though, this question of like, when did that happen? What did we agree to and can we undo it?
Right.
To your point.
Yeah,
So,
Or like, I mean, I'm not suggesting that we would just stop maintaining it, but like, what if we told the state we were just no longer able to do it?
Yeah.
Did they like
I-
step in to?
I can reach out to V-Trans and ask them.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm curious.
yeah.
I'll ask and just see what they say.
Yeah.
So any other questions on the financial plan? If not, then we'd entertain a motion to adopt the annual financial plan as presented.
I'll make a motion to adopt the annual financial plan as presented.
Great, we have a motion from Suzanne. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Mark. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, we can vote. All those in favor of adopting the annual financial plan as presented, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
So we just need to
Great,
sign
motion
it.
carries. So yeah, we'll sign that when we do warrants and everything else.
Okay.
So that brings us to visitors, and so we're going to turn to visitors now, and I'm going to go in the order that I think I saw folks show up. So Roberta, I know you were here first, so the floor is yours.
Okay, so yeah,
Just what Mark said, the overall conditions of, all the roads are pretty bad. And I live on Hill West, and it takes me an extra 15, 20 minutes, if not more, every day. And I mean, I did move up here, but the roads weren't as bad as they are now. I've never seen them this bad. The ditches are full of trees, they need to be cleaned out. The road is just bad, and people can't even get water now at the cold springs without going over 2 mounds of dirt. And it takes forever to drive up and down the road. So I begged, I volunteered my husband, and I did call Charlie. My husband, Billy, is working in Belvedere now. He has the Wickham grader, and he has permission from Wickham to grade our road free of charge to the town. Just Hill West Road, not our road that we live on, which is an extension, but Hill West Road, to get it back into shape, cut the holes out, the potholes, reshape the road the way it should be, get out the mounds of dirt in the road. And he could do it this weekend. All we would have to do is the tank would be full in the grader when he comes into town, and all he would do is ask if it would be filled when he leaves. So that would be for Hill West Road. It would take some of the pressure off the town crew, and it would help everybody on our road would be really appreciative. And I'm sure the people that come up to get water would also appreciate not having to jump out of the way every time a car comes up when they're trying to get water for their homes. So
Thanks,
I'm
Roberta.
wondering what you guys think about that.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll just say, first off, before anything else, I'd just say thank you for the offer, to you and Billy. Appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
I guess, Mark, as road commissioner, and I'll let you respond to this.
I mean, our plans are getting up there the next couple of days, on that road, to grade it. I mean, it's been so wet, that's why we haven't been able to push everything back and get it graded. I mean, if we don't get to it by the weekend, but I think we will. I mean, the next couple of days are supposed to be good. And we are planning on running our grader later in the day to get these roads back into shape. But, I think things are finally supposed to be nice the next few days, so that's what our plan is, to run our grader, more hours per day and try to get these roads, back into shape. So, I mean, thanks for the offer, but,
So are we hiring somebody to put the dirt back in the road, or is David gonna roll the dirt back in the road?
he's gonna roll some back in, and probably some we're gonna remove that's too muddy, but we'll roll it back in and we'll put some more, add some more in. We've got a pile at the garage. But that's what the plan is, to roll it back in, as it gets dries, and then get the potholes filled. I mean, I know exactly what you mean, Roberta. I mean, I go around there with a bus, twice a day, and I do have to slow down, and it is frustrating. But the weather hasn't been cooperating, and the snowstorms haven't cooperated, so that's,
Well, I know he's graded the potholes, but I also know they're back within 24 hours.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I guess I could understand where he wouldn't want to have Billy grade. But I'm thinking we're saving the town money and time for them to do it on other roads. And you know how he grades. And I
Yeah.
can, I just think you're taking an opportunity away that will fix the road.
I think that it's a really generous offer, Roberta, but I also think that without checking in with a couple of other people, I don't think that we can make a decision, because I think that could open the town up to like significant liability, given that he's not a town employee and would be like working on a town road, because that's like in direct opposition to what our like class 3 town road maintenance policy says. I think it's an incredible offer, and I see that it could like alleviate some of the stress for the road crew, but I do wonder if that's like opening a can of worms that could be a huge liability issue, and or like open it up for other people who maybe aren't as qualified to feel like they need to take into their own hands like generalized road maintenance as well. I don't know what other people are thinking, but
I was also
I
wondering
know I'm
about,
always like the liability person.
I don't think most people would take it into their own hands.
Okay, we're gonna go in order and not just jump right in. Suzanne had something.
I was also wondering about the insurance liability with that, as far as like if something happens to the Whitcomb grader while he's using it on our roads, or if something with the roads doesn't go right, what our insurance liability is in that context as well.
Yeah, well, I know that as far as having somebody who's not an employee use the town's grader, that I know our insurance company would have a problem with. But to your point around, again, like if something happened to Whitcomb's grader on the road. So yeah, there are some liability things here we'd want to figure out, I think.
Yeah.
And we can certainly look into that, if for nothing else than just kind of a point of information to know. It does sound like, based on what Mark's saying, that the road crew is looking to get out this week to try to start hammering this out. So what I might suggest is, let's see what we can get done in the next 3 or 4 days, see where that puts us, and then we can kind of circle back. I mean, I do think there's a lot of work for the crew, and I totally get the idea of having an extra body doing the work in hours the crew can't be doing it. So that, conceptually, it makes a lot of sense. In the meantime, I'm happy to look into some of the liability questions that were brought up tonight.
Yeah.
try to get an answer from folks on that in the next day or so. I think, we reasonably can get, quite a bit done. Now the sun is shining, and that's been the issue. I mean, we had snow just last week, the week before, and we've had to let things dry out. And I think the plan is to get there and get those things done, so.
At the
I can understand. I totally get why you don't want this done. But I also would like us to be put on a list of getting all our ditches cleaned out and the trees, the ditches cleaned out so that we don't have the mess we had this year because there's no place for the water. There's culverts that are clogged on the left side of the hill all the way up the hill. The dirt is running down the road. The ditches are full of dirt.
Well, there is an excavator up there right now, John Nutting's excavator, and we have talked to him, and we are planning on cleaning a bunch of the ditches up there,
Yeah.
and changing some culverts
As
while he's up there, so.
Yeah, as part of the budgeting for
Yeah.
this, as part of the budgeting for this year, we did include, I want to say
Yeah.
20 grand in contracted services relating to ditching, because it is overdue on a lot of roads, Roberta, like you said. So the hope is this year, through the contracted services that we've budgeted for, we can get the excavators up there to get the ditch work done, and to Mark's point.
The plan is to actually do, some work on that road. I mean, because we know there is a bunch of issues and there's culverts. And so the excavator's already there, so as soon as we can, we'll be cleaning ditches and working on that road. Yeah, so I just, yeah.
One second, Jackie. So Roberta, if for nothing else than just information, I'll track down some of the liability questions, and then, like I said, let's see what we can do, get through, see how we can do this week, and then we can circle back at the end of the week.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And again, I really appreciate the offer from you and from Billy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go around the horn now. So Jackie, you're welcome to hop in now. The floor is yours.
Okay, Roberta, I'm glad that you're still here. I just want to appreciate the way you spoke and what you spoke about. I want to thank the select board, Charlie, Mark, especially for all you're doing to try to get our roads working. But to you, Roberta, what I didn't hear our select board acknowledge was your frustration and your clear understanding of what's wrong and what needs to be put right. And it's another example that what the taxpayers on Black Falls Road have done by invoking Title 19, Statute 971, is an issue on other roads as well. And you can, if you want to contact me about that, I'm happy to talk to you. I'm glad to hear about the way the town is thinking. I'm sorry that you and your husband's generosity and willingness to do some hard work is a liability issue. And anyway, just thanks for speaking as eloquently and calmly and in an informed manner the way you did. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. Anything else for visitors, Jackie, before we move on to Merle?
Yeah, I wanted to ask that, well, we did agree to wait until mud season. Charlie, I had asked you if you would send us any preliminary plan as well as the notes from the V-Trans grant fellow who came up here. And that was back around March 16th, 17th, 18th. I haven't gotten anything from you yet.
Yeah, so again, the preliminary, I should have been more explicit, I guess. The preliminary plan right now has been just what's been discussed and what's in the minutes. We don't have anything kind of down in writing, even in draft form yet. So apologies for the confusion there. And to my knowledge, there's no written notes from the visit with V-Trans. Unfortunately, it wasn't a meeting or anything where minutes were being taken because it wasn't a warned meeting. So unfortunately, I don't think there's anything written from that conversation that we can send you.
Okay, I was hoping that initially that as an engineer, he would have sent some thoughts. He turned out to be a grant man. I was hoping he would say, you could look here, here, or here, or even, there's just no money for what you're looking for, so that we would have that information, because I know we're still at the town and the roads are at the information gathering place.
Yep. Yeah, and to your point, if he wasn't the right individual, we can certainly reach out to others at V-Trans as we kind of continue looking at this planning exercise. So that won't be the last point of contact with them on this.
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. Merle, anything for visitors tonight?
Oh, I guess, I gotta have something. The sound is great now, but the first half hour was ridiculous. I don't know why we can't have good sound right, all the time, what we're paying for. But yeah, the roads should never, ever been let get in this terrible condition. Gosh, I've lived up here for 47 years now. And there's 3 places on West Hill that you have to stop. I mean, literally stop and creep through the potholes. They are humongous. Not too deep, but they are humongous. It reminds me of someone riding one of those mechanical bulls. You go through about a mile an hour. It's just terrible. It should never happen, Mark. We got that big grader down there at the garage. And you need to get that grader, should be out there every day, and do those roads. And as soon as you get done, all of them, you start over again the second time and then the third time. Those potholes are so big that if you don't have the scar fire and you dig up the road to the bottom of those holes, you scrape a little dirt in them. And like somebody said before, 24, 48 hours, the potholes are right back. So like you did this spring, you did a wonderful job this spring. Got those roads in as good a shape as I've ever seen them. And so you can do it again. But you have to use that grader. That darn thing should be running every day, Mark, every day.
It is.
Do you still drive the school bus up here, Mark?
Yes, I do.
I don't know how you get through them damn potholes to the school bus.
I have to go slow.
Places, you know where they are up there. Yeah.
I know exactly where they are.
You need to get that grader starting tomorrow, Mark, not a couple, 3 days. Get the damn thing.
No, it is
going.
It is going. It goes every day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Merle. All right, so I don't see anybody else on the Zoom, and there is no one else here in the room this evening. So we'll go on to old business. A few updates here applicable to the wastewater project. So we have an opportunity through the Municipal Technical Assistance Program that the state stood up a few years ago. This is essentially where the state took a significant slug of ARPA money and put it into a fund to assist towns with working on municipal projects. Wastewater projects is one of the areas that they have funding for. I've been working with regional planning with Bethany to put together an application to the MTAP program, which would provide funding to assist with the management of this wastewater project. The application that we've drafted that I'm hoping to get board approval for submitting this evening is for $20,000. The funds would be, and I'll read what the application says now. The funds would be to hire a project manager who will work 10 to 12 hours per week and complete tasks such as participating in project meetings with engineering consulting firms and municipal officials, managing and ensuring the completion of progress reports and invoicing that are required for all federal and state funding sources in coordination with the town, assuring that the project stays on time, on budget, within the specifications of all funding sources and state and federal laws, support the town in securing easements from impacted property owners, coordinate and advertise bid, conduct pre-bid meetings, draft responses to questions for potential bidders, serve as the primary worker on the procurement process, review the bids for responsiveness and responsibility, oversee and observe construction with the contractor and monitoring subcontractors, essentially serving as a clerk of the works function, such as we've had for other municipal projects, and then also reviewing and recommending any change orders from a technical and cost analysis perspective. I'll note this isn't intended to supplant or remove the services that Hoyle Tanner have been providing. They've been a fantastic partner in this. What this would essentially do is hire somebody 10 to 12 hours of a week to basically be the front person from the town in terms of project management, so that there's somebody who is dedicated, has the time, and frankly is getting paid to do this work.
For how long?
So right now, the period is looking to be extended from April of this year to April of next year. So right now, the ask is for a 1-year contract. And that's where the $20,000 came from, thinking again about 10 hours a week. Again, if funded, we would have to then go find the individual with the right qualifications,
Next question.
demeanor, all that kind of stuff. I don't have anybody in mind for this position right now, but this would give us the financial capacity to hire that to kind of help with more of the municipal management of the project.
Was this grant inspired by the Longley Bridge project?
It was, yeah, I mean, it was inspired by the Longley Bridge project. It was also inspired just in that this takes a lot of work on the municipal front. And
So it would take a lot of work off your plate.
it would take a fair amount of work off your plate, yeah. So yeah, and it would have somebody who's
Yes.
dedicated to this, who can project manage, be a liaison to the board.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
That's what the application is for.
This is a great idea. What happens, sorry, what happens if we don't, what happens if we get this funding and we don't find the person?
Yeah,
that-
if we get the funding and we don't find the person, then we would just return the funding.
And there's no.
There'd be no penalty.
Penalty,
I mean,
right.
we would have to review the actual grant agreement.
Yeah.
This is basically just a draft application to the program.
Yep.
So there's lots of nuts and bolts we have to work out, but this is the first step in securing funding from the state to help with the municipal project management end of this. So if that sounds good to folks, I would just ask for a motion to submit the scope of work to the MTAP program to provide municipal assistance on the management of the wastewater project.
I'll make that motion.
Great, we have a motion from Emily,
I'll second it.
and we have a second from Mark. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, we can vote. All those in favor of submitting the scope of work application to MTAP, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. That was it for the wastewater update. A couple quick updates on the streetscape project front. You know what? I left a couple notes at home. But basically, just two quick updates. One is that for the streetscape project, we have to go through NEPA. NEPA is the National Environmental Policy Act. Any project that receives federal funding of a certain amount for a project like this has to go through NEPA. It looks at everything environmental, cultural, historical impact the project could have. The challenge is that that takes about 6 months to get done from submission to receipt of the final NEPA outcome. We are currently in a little bit of a time crunch with the Northern Borders Regional Commission funding that we have, that $600,000, $700,000. In order to get our notice to proceed within the deadline they want, right now, those don't jive. NEPA would not be back in time to meet the notice to proceed deadline for NBRC. So Bethany and I are working with NBRC now to get an extension, assuming they will grant one. If there is not a possibility for an extension, we'll have to reassess how the NBRC funding shows up into this and whether, as in some cases, other communities have had to kind of de-obligate and reapply. I don't think we're going to have to do that, but just flagging that that's where we are in that process, is going through the hoops of all the federal review, and there are some timeline things we're trying to figure out. The only other update on the streetscape project was that, and I left this at home and I wish I hadn't, but I do have an update on the number of parking spaces that are going to be available at the rec center and the 98 Main Street location. If my memory is serving me correctly, the new parking area at the rec center is going to add 17 parking spaces in that new area along the street. The design for the 98 Main Street location, I believe the count there is 28 parking spaces.
Nice.
That question had come up, so I just wanted to address that. One thing that we're going to want to do is, Mark, I'd like to sit down with you and the road crew at some point in the next few weeks just to look at the current design for certain areas like this. Talk about snow removal.
Yeah.
The engineers have thought about ways to kind of manage snow storage and removal, but I do want to sit down with you guys just to go over how does that design look? Does this work given what we've got, what we're doing? So
Yeah.
I just want to flag that as being a conversation that we're going to want to have sometime soon.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was it for the streetscape and wastewater project updates. Anybody have any questions on that? All right, if not, we'll go to new business. The one added item here was just, I think folks saw an email about this, but the town of Enosburg is or was looking to organize a meeting for April 18th in Enosburg to talk about police services. I don't know anything more than that. I don't know if they have ideas or if there's a proposal they're coming with or what. I haven't responded to it. I just wanted to see, is anybody interested in attending that meeting?
That's this Thursday.
That's this Thursday.
Yeah.
It would be at 6:30 p.m.
I'm gonna try and make it.
You're gonna try to go? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be in Montpelier all day Thursday. If I'm back in time, I might try to go.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was planning on going.
Okay, great.
Just like to hear what they, if there's.
Okay, great. Well, that was all I wanted to do, was just flag that to make sure folks saw it, and if you want to go, you can coordinate.
You want me to just message them back?
Yeah, just email them back, and just, that way they can give you the details on, I think it's at their public safety
Yeah.
building, but
Yeah.
just, okay. And I'll let you know if I make it back in time to shoot over there too.
Okay.
Okay, with that, we have no liquor or tobacco licenses. We do have a couple overweight truck permits. I want to give those a quick look, Mark.
How does it work during that season with oil delivery? Like, they don't need a permit to go up and down the roads.
Yeah, I think fuel deliveries are also exempt, but to Mark's point, maybe to a certain weight, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Because it's not agricultural.
No.
No, but it does relate to someone's ability to
Heat their
live.
house.
Function.
Yeah.
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 So make a motion to approve the overweight truck permits for Valancourt Transport, Wrights Excavating Incorporated.
Valancourt is not on.
We'll just add it. They need these. They need
Harrison
these now.
Concrete Construction Incorporated.
Okay, so it's Wrights, Harrison, and Valancourt was the one that came in after the agenda.
And Harrison Ready Mix. Corp.
Yep. Yeah, both the Harrisons we had and Wrights we had. I guess Valancourt must have come in Friday afternoon or today.
It was April 15th, so it came in today.
Today, okay. And these are due to them. You got the pen I left you? Got you. No.
Thank you.
31st, so yeah.
Okay. All right, so is there a motion to approve the overweight truck permits for Wrights Excavating, Valancourt Transport, Harrison Concrete Construction, and Harrison Ready Mix Corp?
I made the motion.
I'm sorry, Mark already made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second from Suzanne. Thanks, Suzanne. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of approving the overweight truck permits, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries, and we've adopted those. That brings us through our agenda. Anybody have anything else before we adjourn? If not, then a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion from Suzanne. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second from Mark. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries, and we have adjourned the meeting at 7:32 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Roberta. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.